Patricia Campbell Hearst was an American newspaper heiress, socialite, actress, kidnapped victim, and convicted bank robber. She was the granddaughter of legendary newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst. On February 4, 1974, at around 9 o'clock in the evening, Patricia Hearst was kidnapped from her apartment in Berkeley, California by the Symbionese Liberation Army. The reason for her kidnapping initially was to use her as ransom so that some of the jailed SLA members would be released. When that failed, the SLA expected Patty's family to provide food to the needy families in California. While held in captivity, Patty joined the Symbionese Liberation Army, also known as the SLA, a group of urban guerrillas that were active in the early 1970s. What is thought to be the reasoning behind Patricia joining the SLA is Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological phenomenon in which hostages express empathy and have positive feelings toward their captors, sometimes to the point of defending them. These feelings are considered irrational in light of the danger or risks endured by the victims, who essentially mistake a lack of abuse from their captors for an act of kindness. On April 15, 1974, she proceeded to help the SLA rob the Sunset District branch of the Hibernia Bank at 1450 Norwegia Street in San Francisco. A warrant was soon issued for her arrest, and in September 1975, she was arrested by the FBI in a San Francisco apartment with another SLA member. The law saw her as a criminal, but she pleaded as a victim. F. Lee Bailey was a renowned trial attorney who was the attorney for the Hearst family in Patty's defense. The presiding judge was Oliver Carter. The prosecutor was James Browning, the U.S. Attorney for Northern California. The trial began on February 4, 1976, and lasted 39 days. The kidnapped victim, Patty Hearst, was charged with armed robbery of the Hibernia Bank. She claimed she had been brainwashed and feared that if she had tried to return to her parents, she would have been killed. The defense of Hearst was headed by F. Lee Bailey and his associate Albert Johnson. Bailey chose to adopt the strategy of attempting to prove that Hearst had been brainwashed and suffered from what has been called the Stockholm Syndrome. Under Bailey's theory, Hearst was never a free agent or voluntary member of the SLA up to and including the time of her arrest. However, while the prosecution tried the case in court, government psychiatrist Joel Fort, who was the major influence in the jury's thinking, said that Patty Hearst was a prime candidate for radicalism, even before her kidnapping. Fort described the young Hearst as basically an immoral person who thought rules did not apply to her. Fort concluded that Hearst would find the SLA appealing. Many of its members came from educated, upper-class backgrounds similar to Patty, and all chose to become members without being brainwashed. Hearst, if the jurors believed Fort, signed on with the sociopaths as a form of self-hatred. Unfortunately for her case, the jurors didn't believe a lot of what they heard from her. The verdict came after 12 hours of deliberation. On March 20, 1976, a jury of 7 men and 5 women pronounced Hearst guilty of armed robbery and use of a firearm to commit a felony. Jurors seemed to blame the defendant for hiding behind Bailey's mind control theory and not coming clean about her true feelings. Hearst was sentenced to 7 years in prison. She spent 2 years in prison before President Carter commuted her sentence. On January 20, 2001, the last full day of his presidency, Bill Clinton granted Patricia Campbell Hearst a full pardon.